The end for Barney Frank and for Chris Dodd. Let's bring in Judge Andrew Napolitano on this. You know, it struck me, Judge, that to stand up and give a standing ovation to Barney Frank and Chris Dodd, a lot of people would say that if it weren't for these two gentlemen on the banking committee, the financial crisis would not have happened, that they enabled these bad loans that Wall Street then took and bundled. So now here we are today, standing ovation for these two. What have we got in this new bill?
Why would someone want a bill named after them, which is destined to be found unconstitutional by the Supreme Court? Let me tell you some of the things to which Stewart alluded that this bill allows the government to do. It allows government agents to come in and examine the books of any corporation, whether publicly traded or not. That's a violation of the Fourth Amendment, which says the government needs a search warrant before it can examine anything that it wants that's not already in the public domain. It allows federal agents to seize assets from corporations without having to pay for them. That's a violation of the Fifth Amendment that says when the government wants your life, your liberty, or your property,
under what
it has to sue you.
I would assume that those circumstances would have to do with their suspicion that you're breaking the law in some way.
Their suspicion that you are about to cause economic harm to others. That's not a basis under the Constitution for seizing private property. Martha, if your children go to the dentist and you decide to finance the bill for their teeth over the course of a year or more, the government can look at and decide whether or not it approves of the financing agreement between you and the dentist, even if it's something as simple as $250 every other month. It basically allows federal agents to intrude into the way you spend your own money, something Americans have never tolerated, and something the Constitution doesn't permit.
From conservatives in Congress then about this bill, because what I'm hearing from them is that they're okay with it, that they think there has to be, especially with regard to the derivatives operations at banking, they want to see that done by separate entities. Why are they not more outraged?
They have compromised their principles and have rejected the idea of freedom of choice in favor of punishing Wall Street. Wall Street, of course, was in part to blame for the financial problems, but Wall Street was motivated by a government that artificially lowered interest rates and said, we'll take the bad debt from you.
Exactly. And I mean, that's what we have to go back to here, because if we're going to give the government more power over financial institutions, we have to recognize the role of government in the initial financial crisis this time around. That because they wanted everyone to own a home, they made the loan agreement so easy that a lot of people took on things they couldn't handle. So people need to recognize the government's role in this financial crisis if they're going to sign on for a larger role for them in the future.
People need to recognize that they have a natural right to use their own property as they want, and the government can't interfere with that right. Conservatives, Republicans, liberals, Democrats have swept that away because Congress does not recognize the limits that the Constitution imposes on it.
Here's the other thing that really strikes me in all of this, Judge, and I want to get your thoughts on this. Wall Street always finds a way. Okay, when you look at Bernie Madoff, right, and you look at the SEC, which turned a blind eye to all of this, okay, in so many ways. Wall Street now, okay, well, our derivatives operations are going to be outside of the bank to protect people who have their, savings accounts in those banks and the like. They will figure out a way to make money. It's their M.O. It's what they do.
A couple of observations. As usual, Varney is right. Lawyers will be spending this weekend reading the 2,000-page bill. Have I read it? No, it's not even printed yet. I, like you and Bill Hemmer, read summaries of it this morning. But the whole concept, the principle, the theory behind this is that central planning by the government will make us prosperous, rather than individual choices by consumers and investors. Central planning has never made any society prosperous.
Let's see what the president has to say on this. We just got the tape in. Let's take a look.